Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Dark Wolf's Den radio show. I am your host, Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. If you would please rise for the playing of the Dark Wolf's Den radio show. I am your host, Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. If you would please rise for the playing of the Dark Wolf's Den. I know I wrote it here, I just didn't know where it was.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Things are better left unknown, and I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever Oh, what a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner. Is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner. Is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Ripon Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Coming to you from a secret cave, hidden deep within the wilderness. This is the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live from a secret cave hidden deep within the wilderness of Tennessee. That's right, we're ripping through the electromagnetic soup, we're tearing through the atmosphere, and we're tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the Dark Wolf's Den radio show for Wednesday, April the 20th, 2022. Haha. So whether you are on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be with you on this very special and happy 420 to everybody. We are very glad to have you here, and tonight we are going to dive down once again into yet another state of mystery, this time the great state of Utah, or Utah as some have put it before. And we will be diving into the boundless paranormal that is within the walls of Utah here in just a moment, but first, let's go ahead and see who all we have out here in our YouTube chat rooms, both on the Dark Wolf's Den Show as well as the Ripon Rabbit Hole YouTube channel. How we doing out here tonight, folks? Good to see everybody. Like JoJo's hanging out in the Dark Wolf's Den Show channel over here. Great to see you, JoJo's, and Alva Yarder also checking in. I forgot to make the stream till just moments before we actually went live. My apologies, folks. I didn't really expect a whole lot of people to be in the DWD show tonight anyway, as that is my fault. Sandy B checking in over at the Ripon Rabbit Hole. Glad to see you. Sandy says, wow, Utah, here we come. Absolutely. Maggie's Ace checking in says, hey Maggie's Ace, glad to see you, as well as Errol Taylor says, Land of the Mormons, greetings all. Yes sir, definitely Land of the Mormons. We will touch on them again, I'm sure, here in just a little bit. Raider Champion says, perhaps someday, Sandy B. Yeah, he also points out we're running out of states. That is correct, Raider. We have only maybe a month left of 2 states a week, and we will be completely out of states, and we'll have to do something completely different, to quote, what was that comedy troupe? I totally lost the name of that comedy troupe now. But yeah, those British guys, you know who I'm talking about. Anyway, man, Danny Maw, glad to see you. I don't see any anagrams yet. We'll wait and see if any of those come up. Prairie Fire, always a pleasure. Monty Python, that's the comedy troupe I was trying to think of. Thank you. Monty Python, that's it. Prairie Fire, once again, checking in. And that looks like everybody we have hanging out over this special 420. Did everybody have a good Easter weekend? I know we had a blast here. The Easter Bunny came and brought lots and lots of candy for the youngins, and we had an absolute wonderful Easter here. So glad to report that from our end. Darius Munchausen says, hello, Jerry, and the Dark Wolf's Den Show says, awoo, glad to see you, Darius. A pleasure once again, my friend. It is a special 420 episode. I hope that all of you, or at least those that are part of it, are celebrating 420 as well as possible. And of course, whether you are joining us on the YouTube chat rooms or worldwide on Ripon Common Sense Radio Network at the riponrabbithole.com, or even on the replay on BitChute or Rumble, we're glad to have every last one of you guys along for the ride. Really quick before we do dig into the segments that we start every show with, I would like to give a couple shout outs to those people who I have run into who have reached out and checked out the show. I've told a lot of people recently about it. Also to our neighbors, Drew and Brittany, I believe her name is. I apologize if I got that wrong. As well as our neighbor Patrick. I've really had a lot of interaction with these folks lately, and I'd just like to go ahead and give them a quick shout out. Hope you guys are listening and enjoying the show. Now, before we do get into the fun meat of the show, of course, we've got two more fun little segments to do. The first of which we call Today in History. On this day in 1918, Manfred von Richthofen, also known as the Red Baron, shoots down his 79th and 80th victims, marking his final victory before his death the following day.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50 or more, the bloody Red Baron was rolling up the score. 80 men died trying to end that spree of the bloody Red Baron of Germany.
And that is today's segment of Today in History.
Say what?
Our quote of the day today, folks, comes from one of our favorite authors. That is, of course, Unknown. This time, Unknown says, quote, "You know that tingly little feeling you get when you like someone? That's the common sense leaving your body." End quote. Once again, that is our favorite author, Unknown. And that is today's segment of
Say what?
Speaking of common sense, some of the creatures on our list tonight, our interesting list to say the least, definitely defies common sense. That'll make much more sense later, of course, but the first one we have on our list is called the Bear Lake Monster. Bear Lake itself is located on the Utah-Idaho border. I personally haven't been to this lake, unfortunately. It's just northeast of Salt Lake City and is a popular destination for people who enjoy outdoor activities. It's even called the Caribbean of the Rockies. However, it harbors a much darker paranormal secret, a cryptid, if you will. Tales of a monster in Bear Lake go back to at least the early 1800s, and the creature was apparently often seen by early Mormon colonists cavorting about in the water near the shore. This was most commonly reported as being a cream-colored serpentine creature around 30 feet in length with a wide alligator-like head, short, squat legs, and a powerful tail. We don't get a whole lot of sea creatures with legs. Most of our sea monsters are merely serpentine in nature, so that is interesting of itself there, folks. The alligator head is also quite an odd addition. The squat legs, the powerful tail. This sounds like a creature that I would not want to run into in the water, especially. At times, the creature was said to come ashore for brief periods to roam about, and it was also occasionally reported as spewing water as if through an air hole. That's important for later. The creature was also known to the native Shoshone people as of the region, who called it the water devil and regarded it as a malicious evil entity to be avoided at all costs. The monster was said to not be shy about dining on unwary animals or even humans that came too close to the shore or went swimming in the lake's inviting waters. It was mostly reported as very aggressive. The Shoshone claimed that the beast's favorite thing to eat was the various bison of the area at the time. Sightings were supposedly made of the creature well into the late 1800s, with some notable reports by early pioneers of the region. The creature was seen in 1860 by the sons of Marion Thomas and Phineas Cook as they were out on their boat fishing. The massive creature in this case came dangerously close to the small boat, and the two witnesses were terrified that it might actually capsize them. In 1871, two men named Melando Pratt and Thomas Rich saw the bizarre creature and claimed to have hit it with shots fired from their rifles. but the bullets had no noticeable effect according to the witnesses. A few years later, in 1874, a wagon train captain named William Budge saw the monster around 20 yards from the shore and would describe the encounter as follows, quote, "Its face and part of its head were distinctly seen, covered with fur, or short hair of a light snuff color. It was flat-faced with very large eyes, prominent ears, and a neck of about 4 to 5 feet in length." This particular sighting gained a lot of publicity at the time and had been related personally to none other than Mr. Brigham Young himself, who, if you are in Mormonism, you know this was the second president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I unfortunately married a Mormon at one point, folks. I say unfortunately because the Mormon I married thought I meant more men. Didn't work out all that well. I don't blame the Mormons. I blame her, just to be clear on that. I have no problem with the Mormons, although they are an interesting group. But Mr. Brigham Young himself, who is said to have a very high honesty level, if you will, a very well-respected gentleman in the neighborhood, if you will, said that he made arrangements to catch the creature that he also had caught an eye of by using a thick cable, a massive barbed hook, and a thick length of rope to bait with mutton the creature and try to catch it. He suspended this in the water with a buoy, although on every attempt the bait was stripped away by something. The creature was not caught. Around this time, a local rancher claimed that something had taken 20 of his sheep from the grazing grounds near the shore of the lake. Could it be this same creature that is claimed to walk on the water? The creature, or on the land, the creature would become a sensation in the media, appearing in a variety of newspapers such as Deseret News and the Salt Lake Tribune, among others. But the furor faded somewhat when one of the first journalists to report on the creature, Joseph C. Rich, claimed that his original story in 1868 had been an elaborate hoax. Nevertheless, that did not stop the sightings that continued into the 1900s. In 1907, 2 men, rather dramatically, claimed to have seen the monster come crashing into their camp to kill and drag away one of their horses, and there were other sightings as well in that same year. It was seen again in 1946 by a Boy Scout scoutmaster, and was seen as recently as 2002 by a local business owner on Bear Lake called Brian Hershey. Whether it really exists or is just a part of folklore, to the ones that have seen it, it is very, very real. And it's not even the strangest part of our case files tonight. Our next case file is a little bit different. It's not a cryptid per se, but it would later go on to be cryptid-like. Check this out. Near Salt Lake, it is said to have its fair share of strange creatures. Some rather odd to be in the area, considering how inhospitable it is to life. It's an enormous 1,700 square mile lake and is in general around 5 to 6 times saltier than seawater, which has made it mostly devoid of life. The only organisms able to deal with this intense salinity are brine shrimp, which are tiny crustaceans, basically like sea monkeys, barely a half-inch long with transparent bodies, as well as brine flies and a few species of bacteria and algae. There are no fish in the lake, and it's the last place one would expect to find any sort of large water monster. Yet nonetheless, there have been reported from time to time there, in this bleak, salt-encrusted shores, large-sized creatures, the size of whales, no doubt. It is mentioned that in the late 1800s, a whale farmer by the name of James Wickham had the somewhat far-out notion of populating the Great Salt Lake with whales. That's right, whales, which he was confident could survive in the lake's salty water. Wickham allegedly spent a year in Australia capturing whales in a ship specifically built to hold enough seawater to haul the whales back to the States without injuring them. In 1873, two 35-long Australian whales were caught and brought to the Great Salt Lake, where they were kept in a custom-built pen at the mouth of the Bear River. Now, isn't that interesting, folks? A whale that shoots water out of its spout. I know that doesn't seem paranormal, and in and of itself, a whale shooting water out of its spout is very natural. The fact that the Shoshone reported this same type of creature in Bear Lake makes you wonder if they weren't reporting the same thing. It didn't belong in a lake like that. Nonetheless, right? It is strange to see a whale, of all things, in a lake. Could you imagine how another native person would have reacted to that? It would have been a monstrous creature, although the creature of Bear Lake had legs just the same. Maybe there was enough salt that the next generation of the creature did have legs. The area around the Great Salt Lake have produced reports of camels roaming around. That's right, folks, camels. Of all creatures, that's not something that you normally hear about in the United States, but apparently they're most likely descendants of the escaped animals used by military when crossing the harsh desert in the early 1800s. So again, not encrypted per se, just something quite out of place, but there are much more strange creatures than just whales and things of that nature. We have up next our case file from the Native Americans. Once again, the native tribes of the area used to tell early explorers of a fierce monster with a huge head that prowled the waters near the shore and was known to snatch birds and even horses or cattle from the shallows. This monster was often blamed for many cattle that often mysteriously disappeared in the area. Another mysterious lake monster was reported in 1840s when a man known only as Brother Bainbridge reported seeing a creature that looked like a dolphin swimming out in the lake near Antelope Island, the largest of the lake's 11 known islands. Yet another mysterious water creature on the lake is an alligator-like monster that reportedly lurks within the lake's depths. In 1871, a J.H. McNeil and several other employees of the Barnes & Co. Salt Works Company reported seeing a huge creature that looked like an alligator with the head of a horse off Monument Point of the northern shores of Great Salt Lake. The creature reportedly let out a deep bellowing noise and chased the men up a hill. And I'm going to stop right there. I would like to point out the fact that it has a head of a horse. We've seen this on a number of serpent creatures. And a couple weeks ago, I believe 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had this same type of creature with the head of the horse and this deep bellowing noise that came out of the creature. Very interesting that lines up with something we found in an entirely different state by people that I'm willing to bet have never met each other. When you start to have details like that being repetitive amongst random people, you have to pay it more attention, right? It then chased the men up a hill where they remained hidden until daylight. Upon returning to where they had seen the monster the day before, they discovered overturned boulders, tracks, and ground torn up by the threshing creature. Alligator-like creatures have been spotted from time to time in the lake since then, ranging in size from between a modest 5 feet all the way up to a monstrous 75 feet long. However, that is yet again only the beginning of the strange when it comes to the Great Salt Lake in and of itself. It also is allegedly home to tiny horses the size of dogs. Yes, horses the size of dogs. You heard that right. That roam the shores in some of the islands. Even a mysterious tribe of natives, check this out, that reportedly ride around on elephants. A lost tribe of, quote, white Indians, end quote, that live on the lake's islands, and bizarre white bears that stalk the salt flats. These so-called salt bears are said to be to completely blend into their surroundings, that only their black eyes were visible. The mystery bears are said to terrorize drivers along lonely stretches of road and have even been blamed for damages to roads they cross their domain. There are also strange creatures that the native people of the area refer to as water babies. End quote. These creatures were said to be the size of a human being and their appearance like a classic mermaid. The long black hair and a fish's tail. The most unusual feature with their undulating vocalizations, which are said to sound like a baby's crying, hence their name. Water babies were seen as dangerous creatures that supposedly seduced victims into the water, where they were dragged down to their watery depth. So yet another really creepy case file coming from the Native Americans, a group that I would take their word over any of the others any day of the week. And yet another out-of-place creature, this one a little more paranormal. And check this out. In the 1950s, Utah, as well as Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico, were plagued by a series of sightings of what were mostly described as screaming kangaroos. These enigmatic entities were commonly described as being around 4 feet high, about 150 pounds, and having powerful hind legs, stubby arms, and sharp teeth. That definitely sounds like a kangaroo to me. However, more bizarre descriptions said that they had reptilian features and even wings. Now that's scary. In all cases, the creatures were reported as capable of letting out a blood-curdling, unearthly scream. The most rational explanation is that there were some large species of kangaroo, possibly from the Macropus genus, which included the eastern gray kangaroo and red kangaroo. However, even if you can nail down what type of kangaroo it is, my question is, why is it in Utah? Kangaroos are not native to Utah. Neither are the big cats. I have seen some mountain lions, don't get me wrong, through Idaho, but some witnesses claim to have seen what appears to be a large tan-colored big cat of some kind stalking about on the side of the road. This happened in 1987. The witness slowed his truck down to get a better look and could see that this animal was no mountain lion. It was described as being larger than a mountain lion, bulging with muscle, with a very short snub tail. The witness would say of the experience, the big tan-looking cat was very muscular, and I mean very muscular, more so than a puma or mountain lion would be. You could see all the muscles bulging out everywhere on its body and face when it walked and ran, and this cat had a very short, stubby tail. To me, this cat resembled the large cat family that you would normally see in a museum or history books, as a saber-toothed tiger or lion. Except it did not have any large teeth or fangs coming out from its upper jaw, as a saber-tooth would. But anyway, when I seen this big or large cat, I'm sure was glad I was not hiking out there at the time, like so many people have seen do along the side of the highways through many of the U.S. states. So he definitely seen something that scared him immensely. But even stranger than the screaming kangaroos or even the wild cats of the area, if you thought the winged kangaroo was scary, how about a winged snake? Almost sounds like a dragon, right? An unidentified witness claims that it was seen by him and 2 friends at around noon in some tall grass feeding on the carcass of a dead deer. The beast itself was described as being around 9 feet in length, maybe 245 pounds, that's one big snake, and looking like a dark brown snake with purple stripes, glowing eyes, and tiny wings on its back. I doubt it was flying if it had that much weight and that small of wings. Between his eyes is said to be a noticeable scar, and allegedly had a rancid stench like that of a dead skunk or sewer. The witness said he observed the snake feeding for several minutes from about 4 yards away before it noticed his presence and raced away, hissing a great speed. And if you'd like to take a look at an artist's rendition of this creature, we have a picture up over on the riponrabbithole.com. Down the rabbit hole, folks. But That music means we have to go ahead and take a network break. That's a great chance for you to go over here and check that picture out down the rabbit hole. And we will be right back with the second half of the Dark Wolf's Den radio show and the hauntings of the great state of Utah after these messages. Stick around. Don't touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah, that howl means your weekend has officially begun. Hi everyone, it's AJ, the Ripon Rabbit. Are you enjoying tonight's State of Mystery and the deep dark den of Utah? I know I am. If you are and you haven't done so already, please make sure to hop on over to our website, riponrabbithole.com. That's RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. There you can sign up for your exclusive Backstage VIP pass. It's going to give you unfiltered access to our privatized social media network down the rabbit hole and our community-generated press. Now, I can tell you, we have really been working hard over there on the website, making some dynamic improvements and changes. And if any of you tried to log on or sign up throughout the last couple days, it wouldn't surprise me if the website wouldn't allow you to do that, because a number of significant changes have been made, all that makes the website faster and better. So if you haven't been there for a while, I encourage you to log in at some point in the next few days, because a lot of really exciting changes have been made. Now you have the ability to reset your password, a very big improvement. If you had forgotten your password and you want to gain access again to your account, I can assure you, having tested it myself today, that the password reset feature is back and functional. It's a big improvement, as well as a number of really cool little features that have been added throughout the rabbit hole that you're going to have to explore and discover for yourself. I'll tell you more about some of those improvements this weekend. But Jerry Hicks and the Dark Wolf's Den Show will return again tomorrow night, April 21st, 2022. Come along with him as he howls at the State of Mystery for Vermont. We're in the V's already for the State of Mysteries. Before you know it, we're going to be in the W's looking at Wisconsin. I'm really looking forward to that one. I'll return again Friday night, April 22nd. Come along with me as we dive deep down the rabbit hole and explore games and the theory behind them. That's right, we're going to take a close look at the game theory. Friday, April 22nd, starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as all shows do. Then Saturday night, come along with us as we dive down the rabbit hole and explore hope. I hope we can do it together. I hope you'll join us Saturday, April 23rd, as we explore the rabbit hole depths of hope. And then Sunday night, we'll end out the weekend right together with you. Sunday, April 23rd, a look at Musk. That's right, we're going to dive down the rabbit hole of Elon Musk. But tonight, we'll return you back to Jerry Hicks and the Dark Wolf's Den for the State of Mystery, Utah. You're listening to the Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, the Ripon Rabbit Hole.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And welcome back to the second half of the Dark Wolf's Den radio show for Wednesday, April the 20th, 2022. Happy 420, folks. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Folks, if you missed the first half, we have covered a load of paranormal cryptid creatures in the state of Utah. Strange and out of place creatures Most definitely indeed. And in the second half, of course, we always tend to cover the hauntings of the state. I would be remiss, though, if I did not throw a mention to Skinwalker Ranch, who actually has went through a number of owners, including Robert Bigelow, up to its most recent owner, who actually has some interesting plans for the ranch. The ranch, of course, for those that do not know, one of the most documented paranormal sites known to man. Real quick before we jump into this, I would like to say hey to Royal Magnolias. I see you jumping in on the Ripon rabbit hole over there, Royal. As well as Deranged Lunatic, aka DL, Carol's Cookies, and Liam Burberry, as well as Gil R. jumping in, or hopping in, I should say, to the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Good to see you guys.
Poltergeist type stuff, UFO sightings, cattle mutilations. I had a mysterious bump that started to form on my head pretty rapidly, and over the course of a few days, my scalp completely separated from my skull.
I don't know about you guys, but to me that sounds as incredibly painful as it does strange.
For decades, locals thought the land was cursed.
A shapeshifter. It's a demonic being that can take on the shape of many different animals or the form of a human.
Of course, I'm going to assume if you're listening to this show that you're already probably pretty well versed in the Native American lore of the Skinwalker. If not, I would definitely spend a little time and research. But back to the actual ranch itself.
Today, a new owner oversees the property, and he's hoping to find answers that are grounded in science.
And this man, of course, is the one that bought it from Mr. Bigelow. His name is Brandon Fugel. He's a Utah-based real estate mogul and tech investor, and apparently has a penchant for the paranormal, as he is determined to find scientific answers to paranormal. And I love that, because that's something that I've strived to do ever since I have studied the paranormal. And that is the voice you are about to hear right now. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brandon Fugel, the owner of Skinwalker Ranch.
Learning that Skinwalker Ranch was involved with a black budget Pentagon funded study into not only the UFO phenomena but other high strangeness was very interesting to me. Supposedly the site of more paranormal activity and high strangeness than anything else being reported in the country at the time. And over 4 years, we have recorded and documented phenomena that really defies all natural explanation. It could truly be, the greatest science project of our time.
And I have to agree, it very well could turn out to be one of the biggest science projects of our time if we could really find answers to some of the paranormal activities and maybe a better understanding of reality itself, right? There's no telling what breakthroughs that could lead to, even perhaps breakthroughs in the understanding of ghosts. And Utah has its fair share of hauntings.
The Devereaux Mansion. The Devereaux Mansion, built in 1857 in Salt Lake City, is known for some spooky hauntings that make it perfect to kick off our countdown. Many locals report seeing the spirit of a little girl watching them from an upstairs window, and several have heard her singing or talking to herself.
And of course, what our listener Earth Daughter calls her favorite voice spot. I don't think it's a voice spot. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But she speaks of a very young child ghost. And it's really interesting here because we all know that children aren't always happy.
Some have experienced her darker side and say she slams doors and throws objects when she gets angry. Cold spots are felt, doors open and close on their own, and several have caught orbs and mists in photographs.
So whatever caused the haunting had to be highly emotionally charged or highly traumatic, or perhaps even both. As our theory goes, the higher the trauma and motion at the time of death, the higher abilities of the haunting. It's interesting the correlations we have been able to find thus far. Let's see what other case files Utah holds.
American Fork Canyon. American Fork Canyon is located in the Wasatch Mountain Range. The hauntings at this location are believed to be caused by the multiple fatal accidents that have occurred here.
And I would make the assumption in car accidents that there would be a high trauma, especially a high emotional value. I know every wreck I've ever been in, though I have survived, clearly, at least I hope so, there has been a trauma and emotional value to it. So I could definitely see a number of these piling up to cause paranormal activity to occur. Let's see what we have here.
Legend says that if you do 3 circles in the top parking lot, a ghostly hearse with red lights will appear and chase you. Travelers that are brave enough to drive this stretch at night report ghostly hitchhikers,
It kind of reminds me of the Bloody Mary, but with cars, right?
black shadowy figures, and phantom vehicles appearing from nowhere.
All of which sound incredibly creepy, but it also sounds like a place for a good paranormal investigator, as well as our next case file. Of course, you know, if we get the chance, we'd love to cover the colleges of the states, and this one definitely has a haunted college.
Number 8, Southern Utah University. Southern Utah University was founded in 1898 in Cedar City. That same year, a girl named Virginia was murdered near the campus. Legend says the bloody rock her body was found on was used in the construction of Old Main, and students and faculty alike report odd happenings to this day.
So this case sounds like it takes stone tape to a whole new level here. We have a murder, clearly high trauma, high emotion here, near the campus, and the stone with the blood on it, if you will, for lack of a better term, was used in the construction of the campus. This is going to be interesting indeed.
The 3rd floor is said to be the center of the hauntings, with blinds opening and closing, strange lights, and flute music in the middle of the night.
As I've said many times before, I am quite okay with phantom music, especially like from a flute, right? I sure wouldn't mind going to sleep to that in the middle of the night.
In 1948, an unexplainable fire broke out in Old Main, causing a bell to fall on a custodian, crushing him to death. This man just happened to be the same man acquitted for Virginia's murder 50 years before.
Well, it looks like if it was the same guy that did commit the murder, she got revenge from the other side.
Timpanogos Cave. The Timpanogos Cave in Mount Timpanogos is surrounded by a legend very similar to Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. If you look at the mountain range, you can still see the shape of a woman forever sleeping on her back. Visitors to the cave report dark, shadowy figures, an eerie moaning, and the sound of something moving quickly through the trees.
I don't know, this seems more to me like a sacred site of some type, right?
Some have witnessed things being moved by an unseen force, or heard unexplainable sounds when the cave is empty.
And I can tell you from personal experience that there are some places in this world that have more magical energy to them, if you will, than other places. Like where I lived in the top of the mountain cave in Idaho, it had a very magical energy to it, opposed to where I live now. But this place here could also be another one of those magically manifested places, and it could be based more on the geology of the area than a haunting. But even that aside, let's see what other hauntings we have to choose from in Utah.
The Mountain Meadows Massacre Site. The Mountain Meadows Massacre occurred in September 1857 in Washington County. The Utah militia rode into the camp of a wagon train headed west and slaughtered at least 120 men, women, and children. Visitors to the area report hearing the cries of these tortured souls, forever calling out for help. Ghostly gunshots are heard, some have even heard a ringing in their ears as if the gun were right by them. Shadowy figures are seen, strange sounds are heard, and several are overcome by a feeling of sadness while here.
Yet another case, much like the battlefield cases that we run across, that seems to emulate or emanate, I should say, a emotion, albeit a negative, a sad emotion, but seems to literally emanate from the fabric of reality itself, because so much has been absorbed in a small area. It seems to be the case.
Weber State University. Weber State University was established in Ogden in 1889. In 1993, a student accused of harassing another student opened fire at his grievance hearing. The man shot 3 people before being shot and killed by campus police.
So here we already have our high trauma, high emotion event.
Since then, students and faculty alike have reported cold spots, phantom gunfire, and disembodied voices being heard around 1:30 p.m. Others report hearing unexplainable noises, feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness or anger, and some even feel as if they are being watched or followed by an unseen presence.
Well, anymore, we're all being watched and followed by an unseen presence. They're called video cameras. They're everywhere. But seriously, this does sound like quite a creepy place to visit. If you are a paranormal researcher, this sounds like it's an open to the public research spot.
Lake Powell. Lake Powell, located in Glen Canyon along the border of Utah and Arizona, was created in the 1960s with the construction of the Glen Canyon Dam. It is said that the land beneath the lake was sacred to ancient Native Americans in the area, with many of their people dying or being buried there. Many more have drowned or died in mysterious ways since the lake was created. Visitors to the area report ghostly flute music, as well as tribal drums and chanting that fills the canyon. Many have reported seeing apparitions that vary in age and appearance, hearing disembodied whispers that come from nowhere, and seeing dark silhouettes dance around campfires.
It's not very often that we get a haunted lake case file. Definitely something unlike the norm, but it still is an intriguing case file nonetheless.
3. The Bonneville Salt Flats. The Bonneville Salt Flats are all that is left of the prehistoric Lake Bonneville. The hauntings here are said to be caused by the many deaths that have occurred here. Several died here in the 1800s trying to make their way west, and the bodies of multiple murder victims have been found throughout the area.
And yet, once again, we find we have our perfect recipe for a haunting: high trauma plus high emotion.
Visitors have reported being overcome by visual and auditory hallucinations, seeing these ghostly figures wandering through the flats, or hearing disembodied voices in the wind.
And it would seem that there is a variety of types of ghosts that are being seen on this property.
The apparitions of Native American warriors have been seen, as well as phantom ships sailing across the salty ground at night.
How do you like that? Salt flats complete with their own ghost ships. Again, something you don't hear about normally on land. Utah definitely has some quite strange hauntings indeed.
The City and County Building. Construction on the Salt Lake City and County Building began in 1891 and took 3 years to complete. Staff and visitors have come in contact with a variety of spirits here, including a long-dead mayor, a woman in white, and a judge from pioneer times. A pair of ghostly children are seen and heard running through the halls, playing and laughing.
One thing that we have noticed across these case files is that when children ghosts show up, it tends to be much more stronger activity.
Apparitions have been known to show up in reflections. Cold spots are felt, and dark, shadowy figures roam empty hallways. Strange sounds are heard, and some have even been touched or grabbed by cold hands, only to turn and find no one there.
Being touched by the dead definitely does not sound like a pleasant experience to me, but what do you guys think? Do you think that perhaps Utah is a state of mystery, or do you think that perhaps we're barking up the wrong tree? In the end, folks, all you can do is look at the evidence, apply a little common sense, and... That's right, boys.
Yeah.
We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the Dark Wolf's Den radio show for Wednesday, April the 20th, 2022. Haha. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ain't that right, Bubby? Ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry, the weekend fun has now begun that we've kicked this weekend off right. We will be back tomorrow, Thursday, April 21st, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, with yet another State of Mystery. This time, we're going to be jumping over to the state of Vermont. I don't know how much paranormal we'll have, but I'm sure it's going to be a great time. That's going to be tomorrow, Thursday, April 21st. Apparently, I'm a week behind. 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then on Friday, April 22nd, 2022, at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, our buddy AJ the Ripon Rabbit comes back to the airwaves with an all-new episode of the Ripon Rabbit Hole Live Show. This go-round, he's going to be talking about game theory. What is game theory? How are games designed, especially when it comes to the digital design, right? Is there a system that is followed, and can the system be applied to other things in the world? I'm sure AJ will be discussing at least part of that on Friday, April 22nd, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then on Saturday, April 23rd, 2022, again at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. All shows here on the network start at the same time. Lucky for you guys, right? On Saturday, he's going to be talking about hope. It's always good to have hope, right? Unless he knows somebody named Hope. But I think he's going to be talking about having hope for the world, right? Let's hope that that's the right answer. And you can find out what the right answer is on Saturday, April 23rd, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then on Sunday, April 24th, I'm sorry, that was Saturday, April 23rd. Sunday, April 24th. I do not have a calendar in front of me. Can you guys tell? 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. AJ rounds the weekend out right with an episode about the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Elon Musk. Like him, hate him, anywhere in between. You're going to find out quite a bit about him on Sunday, April 24th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, on the Ripon Rabbit Hole Live Show with our good buddy, AJ the Ripon Rabbit. And that's going to round the weekend out right here at Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, the RiponRabbitHole.com. Speaking of the Ripon Rabbit Hole, if you haven't already, make sure you hop on over there. That is RiponRabbitHole.com. Over there, you're going to find our Listen Live schedule. You can keep up with all the shows we're doing all weekend long, from the Dark Wolf's Dens to the Ripon Rabbit Holes and anything in between. TNV sometimes once a month, as well as Beat Eugene, so make sure you are up to date at all times on the RiponRabbitHole.com. Also, you can check out our featured story over there. That will be the show that is playing that particular evening, as well as the Down the Rabbit Hole section where we dropped that picture earlier. We're always dropping interesting information down the rabbit hole to share with the rest of the rabbits. We do not censor, we do not shadow ban, we do not fake fact check the information, so please be free to come on over and share it with all of us rabbits. We love to learn new stuff. Also, while you're over there, make sure you hop on over to the 24/7 Backstage Lounge. That's where I'm going to be right after the show with a number of other rabbits, continuing the conversation on into the wee hours of the morning. We would love to see every last one of you guys over there and come hang out with us right after this show. Of course, all you got to do to get access to all these amazing features is just sign up for the VIP Access Pass. That is absolutely free and always will be. Once again, that is the RiponRabbitHole.com. RiponRabbitHole.com. AJ's been doing a lot of work over there, guys. I hope you enjoy that site as we continue to upgrade and make it better and better. We've got some surprises we've been working on in the background that I'm so ready to share with you guys. And once I get the go-ahead, I'm sure you guys are going to love it just as much as I do. But folks, it is time for us to get out of here. We really love hanging out with you guys, but our time is up. So on behalf of AJ the Ripon Rabbit, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, Walt House, everybody involved with Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, as well as Tom Bayless and Red Shed Studios for this amazing music. My name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you've been listening to the Dark Wolf's Den radio show State of Mystery series for the great state of Utah. Remember, until next we meet, my friends, stay awake, but dare to dream. Good night, everybody. Say bye, Bubby.
Bye.
How? Yeah. That's right. Bye, everybody.
things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever home. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner, is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Remember, if you like what we're doing here, you would like to help support what we do on this channel, there's a way you can do it and get something in return. Go check out Moon Madness by J.W. Hicks. Available on Amazon, $7 for Kindle, $12 for paperback. You get a book and you help sponsor the channel at the same time. Anything is appreciated. Until tomorrow night, folks, stay awake, but dare to dream. Night, everybody.